Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is directed by J.O. Boyena. I hope I get that name right. And this is the fifth installment of the popular Jurassic Park franchise, and stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, James Cromwell, and among others.
Ted Levine.
Yeah, from...
Surprised I didn't see him in the thing.
Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs played Buffalo Bill. And this is also, once again, executive produced by Steven Spielberg, and... This is the sequel to Jurassic World from 2015, and basically this film deals with picking up where the first film, it's about 3 years later after the events of Jurassic World, where the island of Isla Nublar, which is the original island from Jurassic Park, ends up having a volcano that erupts there, and due to the volcanic eruption, the dinosaurs are pretty much going to be extinct afterwards, and so Bryce Dallas Howard's character Claire gets a chance to get the dinosaurs off the island to get to a different type of extraction to keep them preserved. Yep. And
as the movie goes along, the movie has like a certain villain that's,
we won't say who, but basically
portrays and wants the dinosaurs back and try to do a Lost Worldy type thing again.
And and she also realizes that the raptor that was the intelligent raptor that was from the first Jurassic World, Blue, is on that island, and she wants to get Chris Pratt's character to go with her in order to get her off the island and all the other dinosaurs. Now here's some backstory. Now for those of you who've been following our channel, we actually did an audio retrospective of all the Jurassic Park films that you're welcome to check out when you get a chance to. And of course, me and him are big fans of Jurassic Park, and when the first Jurassic World came out, I can honestly say that I enjoyed it, despite some of its problems it had.
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
And I've always enjoyed...
It was heavy.
But I've always enjoyed the Jurassic Park movies growing up, especially the first two, and I wasn't too big on 3, but I've enjoyed all of them for at least the sequels to their moments, basically.
One I have is like one of my top 20 favorite films of all time, the first one. Second one was a really good sequel. I find it highly underrated. And it's my second favorite of the franchise. Like I said just a minute ago, Jurassic World, it's good. It was just really flawed at the same time. 3 is my least liked. And we elaborate more on that in our retro. If you watch it, you'd see what we say about that.
Yeah. But with this one,
going in this one, I was kind of a little worried because other than all the Jurassic Park films, even including World, this one wasn't really that promoted. It just came so late, and it was just like the trailers just wasn't grabbing like all the other trailers.
Yeah, the first trailer they set up, I felt was very underwhelming. It's kind of like how we described with Solo. The trailers really felt like they weren't grabbing me compared to the first Jurassic World. Yeah, and they didn't really catch my attention. But with that being said, I should have learned better, because for those of you who haven't seen the second trailer, I felt like they were really putting too much into that second trailer, because the second trailer basically gives away a lot what goes on in the movie. So for those of you who haven't seen the second trailer, try not to watch it, because that basically gives away all the biggest parts that happen in this. And I do not like when they do that with a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my hopes into this weren't like as big. I was still going with the mindset, okay, it'll probably still be fun. It's a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah.
I gotta say that upon seeing the movie, it was better than I expected.
It was better than I expected. It was good, but it still is heavily flawed.
It's definitely, I felt like, a step down compared to Jurassic World 1.
Yeah, it is a step down, but it's still a lot better than what I expected it, because I actually expected it to be the very first Jurassic Park film that actually would be really bad.
Yeah.
And that's what I was worried about going in this, and after watching it, it was a lot better than expected, but it was also a step down from World, which I find heavily flawed, and we'll go into here in a second why it's flawed.
But to get my pros out of the way, I will say that the director, J.A. Boyena's direction in this was very outstanding. Like, this to me probably this movie has a lot of intense moments with the dinosaurs that really, I felt like I was watching Lost World again, because there are a couple sequences that we won't spoil, but when you see these moments that happen with some of the dinosaurs, it really gave me on the edge of my seat at times.
Yeah. Whenever you get back into, the island and stuff, it was it was cool seeing the island again and seeing like the stuff that happened. They go back to the World's Museum part.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty cool, and the dinosaurs were great.
The cinematography was also great too.
I liked his direction. I agree with you on that. I liked the whole volcano thing, which was one of the things that brought me in to want to see this.
Yeah,
because I was interested in seeing what they're going to do, seeing that the island is finally giving up.
Yeah,
and going away
because it's actually called Fallen Kingdom, basically.
And you know, can't really say much about the performances. They're all great except for one.
Yeah, we'll get into
two people. I'll get into in a minute. But
once again, Chris Pratt is great in this. He was funny as hell at times.
Him and Bryce Dallas Howard, they carried the film.
Yeah, they had great chemistry again, like the first film. They really, they're the only ones that really get much like development throughout the film. Because they introduce some other characters that there's one particular that I won't say who because we have a spoiler discussion we'll come up with. But when this character was introduced, like I do like this character, but there's a kind of a con I have with it because there's a twist behind it. So we won't say who it is, but basically when we go over our spoiler, we'll just say what it's about.
Another pro I like.
I like the visual.
You know that we got Dr. Malcolm back, which it was cool seeing him talk for a few. And if you're expecting him to play a big role, no, he's not. He plays just in that court scene where he talks at the beginning and then the end of the film.
But there is a catch to that, which we won't say what, but there is something interesting.
Well, there's something else I want to bring up. There's also another person who is brought up in this movie too, which I actually was like, yes, they brought his name up. And you'll remember a certain thing he carried around, and a certain person has it, and it was like reliving that first movie again. Yeah, which I thought for just a split second.
Yeah, and I thought that was very wonderful.
Yeah.
And then also, what can we say? I think this one also, as far as the visual effects, they actually fixed more in this one compared to World. I think they were able to go back to render the CGI a lot better this time. Because
if you guys remember in the World, one of my major issues with World was that was probably like one of the most CGI'd.
Next to 3, basically.
Next to 3, it was really CGI, and there was a lot of graphics that didn't hold up. But with this one, they were, for the majority of it, 99% of it is visually back to where I want it to be, and that was a good thing. Though the lava was a little bit CGI, a little bit on some parts.
But the dinosaurs, I thought looked
dinosaurs were great.
Yeah, they are definitely the best part. Also, the other thing I can say too is the movie also does have some like callbacks to some of the other, like at least from the first film.
Yeah,
that I thought was pretty cool. How they did kind of a homage to that, which was cool. And I also enjoyed. There is something that I will say toward the end of the film that really got my attention because we'll save it for our spoiler discussion.
It's kind of hard
to go over it, but basically when that happened, I was like, all right, this really grabbed me right here.
Yeah, like the very end and what they do, I was really hoping for them to do it, and they finally did it, and it leads into something else, another movie that will be coming out. They would have to because it leads where I want it to lead because I was thinking it was going to lead. I thought that was pretty good.
And also, there are some more like awe moments with some of the dinosaurs as well, that kind of give like kind of the heart and motion to it that I thought was very good. Especially there's one particular part that involves with the island that I thought was almost kind of gave me almost tears.
Yeah, and I'll go into it on the spoiler one, but it was pretty sad, man.
Yeah, and the other big praise I'll say too is I like the bonding between Chris Pratt's Owen Grady and Blue, because you can tell like throughout the entire film that he cares so much for.
They actually fill up the history on that we didn't get to see in the last movie, and it really shows how deep the relationship was, which I'm glad they did that. Yeah, 'cause I was really like, I wanted to see that. Because I did feel like that World, one of its problems was with World, is they left it out, and it kind of felt like, okay, like he could just magically make any dinosaur like him.
Yeah, I'm glad
this one was able to elaborate more on that.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed that. So that's really most of our pros that we pretty much have with the movie.
Yes. Now we get into
you go first.
So, my problem with this was, even though I liked the director's direction of like the whole lava, the volcano, we're in a time, let me get these dinosaurs and all that stuff. At the same time, I don't feel like it was a well-written film.
Yeah, the screenplay for this, I felt like was...
Like, what I'm trying to say is, that whole island thing they rushed through the whole Jurassic Park world thing, like, you know, where we always know that island and stuff, and you know that the movie's going to eventually change its location.
Yeah.
And they rushed through that shit fast. I was like, oh man.
Yeah,
slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I really had a problem with that too, because also, and this is why I don't like when trailers do this. For those of you who are curious, if you've seen pretty much the Lost World Jurassic Park, you've kind of seen this movie too, because it goes in a very similar direction of it.
Yeah, it's pretty much kind of the same thing again. You get the same villain is another person that worked for Hammond type thing. It's not really a spoil, it's kind of in the thing.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels like it's the same villainous thing. That was another issue. And now I can finally talk about the two people that I said earlier that I didn't care for in the performances, and that was the kind of like the mixed kid with the dark hair, and then this Asian girl,
Mexican.
or whatever she was. That boy screams like every fucking scene. I'm like, oh my god, he screams so stupid.
I know.
And I was like, golly, get this fucking dude out of here.
Yeah, he was one of the worst parts of it. I mean, I had my issues with, like, some of the kids in the world, but they weren't, like, on screen. I mean, they did have quite a lot of screen time in World, but there were still moments with those kids I could at least tolerate with. But this kid was worse. I felt like every time he was on screen, I was like, oh.
You guys heard of the trailer, because they did one in the trailer where he goes, ah!
Yeah.
Well, he does that like 20 other fucking times. I'm like, shut up, please, man. You're getting annoying, dude.
Yeah.
And not only that, even when they had him and that Mexican girl who was playing kind of like a doctor thing, a lady that does like veterinary stuff, and she's learning how to do on dinosaurs and all that stuff. And she plays like a young person like him. They do a lot of scenes where they're two together, and I find them both with their lines I just feel like they're just trying to, like, you know, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I felt
like they're just there to add more people to pointless people. You know, you're trying to build this big group and stuff, and I just felt like they were there just to stand.
That's what I'm saying. That was the same problem I had
because they had her saying all the one-liners that, like, being a smartass, and I didn't even fucking care for it. And then you got him that was doing all the screaming and doing all the comic relief, where they're making fun of him because he's like a wuss.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, I don't know, I didn't really care for him, is what
I will say that the girl I didn't find quite like as annoying as the guy was, because
I agree with
she at least felt like she had more of a purpose to the actual events that were going on, and she seemed like she had more of like someone I could buy in that situation. That kid, he was basically...
He does stick out like a sore thumb.
I mean, he's there to basically be the technical specialist there, much like how the girl was, the teenage girl was in the first Jurassic Park. But even still, he really doesn't really serve, like, as much really a purpose.
I can see why they had her on the go-long ride, but at the same time, she's only used in one scene, and he's only used... his purpose is only used in one scene. Them two they ain't really nothing throughout the whole film other than that little particular scenes they were doing, like her fixing on the dinosaur and then him getting them inside the things that were broke on the technology standpoint. And that was only like 2 scenes, and they were pretty much useless throughout the whole movie, because even in the end, it's like, you know, they walk out stuff. It's like, where were you guys for a while?
Yeah.
It's like, what was even your point in this movie?
Yeah, and the other issue I have is there's a character in this film that I won't say who, but it's a character that, I mean, this isn't really a spoiler because this character is you kind of know is in the movie. This character was from the previous Jurassic Park movies, and there's basically, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but the film had a very problem with kind of decide who the villain is in this.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like they couldn't decide what to do with the character.
Well, yeah, you got... I
can't go into detail.
They got 3 or 4 guys trying to play villain in this one, and it kind of confused me too.
Yeah. So the villain part, I felt, well, and it's very, you know, predictable as well the way it goes along. Yeah. So that's another issue, and also the other thing I
just felt like the movie didn't bring nothing new.
Yeah.
Really, other than the thing coming down, volcano thing is new. Other than that, it just ends up being the same as Lost World and some previous stuff.
Yeah. Seen. Now there is something like I said toward the end that I will.
But the ending did kind
yeah, it really got me into it. But
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the film, I felt like was just very nothing.
Even the new dinosaur that you saw in the trailer, that's supposedly the new version of what they did in the previous movie. Because you know how ever since World, they've been hybriding dinosaurs each movie now.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that's getting old. And this one served no different from the last one. It was like...
Yeah,
really
it was basically a retrend. Though I will say there was a cool battle that takes place at the end that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I won't spoil that. I'll go over that in the spoiler. But yeah, I had a lot more issues with this because while I was getting more into the story with the first Jurassic World, this one I felt like I wasn't really on board, especially the second half, because I also felt like the second half felt like it kind of dragged.
I know. Well, yeah, it started dragging for a while in the pacing in the second half. I was actually really hyped in that first, what I saw in the first half, with like bringing like really like they showed scenes like pictures. I really like how they elaborate on Jurassic Park a lot.
They do,
from the first movie.
Yeah,
and with a lot of cool names from the past movie getting brought up and stuff, you're like, man, if it's going this direction, I'm gonna like this.
Yeah.
And then it just turns into like a straight copycat, and it really just goes here, dropped dramatically until the end. The end's cool. It goes a little bit like the end. I was like, all right, yeah, I can buy that. But like that second half is just like, man, I'm not fucking liking what they're doing with this.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And also the other thing I want to get to as well is, much like Jurassic World and probably I want to say at least a little bit of Lost World, we have characters that once again make the most stupidest fucking decisions in this. Now, if you've seen Jurassic World, how they get themselves killed in situations, you can count it like not even a mile away with characters that do that in this film a lot.
Yeah.
And there's even one scene where the character deliberately basically gets himself killed, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
But other than that, it ended up being, like we said, it was better than expected, but it's still very underwhelming. And I do have this kind of a little on an overall story and movie level. I do have this a little bit underworld, and it is my second least of the franchise. With that said, I'm going to give this a high average Joe on the Film Phreeks meter.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm giving it a high average Joe as well on the Film Phreeks meter. It's definitely not a bad film. It does have, it definitely does have a lot of like entertainment value. It's just that the story could have had so much potential that they wasted.
Yeah.
But hopefully, the next one they actually, bring it up, like bring it better. But overall, yeah, that's pretty much our thoughts. For those of you who have also seen Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and the other Jurassic Park movies as well, let us know in the comments of what you thought about them. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and check out more of our reviews here and our website at filmphreaks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.